welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to discuss the Coloniel network breach. Now, if you're not in the US, this pipeline supplies the southeast with a lot of their fuel supply, gas, petrol if you're overseas, diesel, and airline fuel. Now, they had a breach the other day, and gas stations over there are running out of gas. So before I get into the IT specifics of that, when you have a data breach, especially with something like that, you don't want to send product through a computer-controlled pipeline. Here is why. You don't know where the product is going. You don't want to lose any money. And you want to make sure that your billing is up to date. So this particular company who runs it it's a pipeline that's like 3 or 4 pipelines from what I remember. I heard they almost have run up and running, but here is the problem. When there's no product going through the line, and let's say it's a 5,000 mile line, it's going to take a couple hours or a full day to get back up and running just on one pipeline. That's security, that is billing, that is all sorts of stuff because you don't want it to spread to other pipeline networks because that could happen. It could go through and somebody could open up something. So here's the IT part of this. You have a server. Not sure if you could see that server right here, okay, which has an IP address. I'm not going to use a real IP address. I'm going to use a exaggerated one. Or something that doesn't exist. So, alright. So say this is a server IP address. One way you can get in is if you can figure out what the IP address is, you can get in that way. So that is one possibility. Now, there's one possibility that's scary as anything. Right? So, you're on your mail program. Say this is your mail program. Right? You open this up. So let's say it's opened. You got a suspicious link. Right? So somebody working at that plant opens that link up. So to put it into context, let's say this is what a firewall looks like on data side. Right? So when you open this, you just went like this. Down. Let's say this is the front part. And you have a firewall. Let's say you have a physical firewall. As soon as you opened it, that suspicious link, it bypassed it. So somebody could have opened a suspicious link and did that too. Now, this happened to a water treatment plant, I believe. They were running Windows 7. And they didn't have the proper protection. Even though with the proper protection, you could still get network compromised. But the chances of that are way slimmer when you have the newest stuff. You don't have to have the brand newest stuff, but you want newer stuff. Okay? Their computers were running Windows 7. Windows 7 isn't supported anymore. This is where the bad guys figure out how to get into that operating system. What happens is with unsupported operating systems, you're not getting these security updates anymore. So let's say there's a new virus threat. Windows 7 is no longer receiving update you can't protect Windows 7 from that update unless you're hooked into a server, and your edge transport server would do that. So getting back to what I said. So basically, that I would assume that's an enterprise network that they're on. So what you have, let me get a new piece of paper here. So what you have here is you have something called an edge transport server. In networking. Okay? What this houses, it houses software firewall, all your antivirus for the network. You have that and all sorts of stuff. Now you could have a physical firewall, what they call an appliance. Say that's a firewall. So there's a couple things that could happen. Now, the term that they use, I am not going to say due to profession. I want to be professional when I do this. So when you compromise a network, it is a dangerous thing. I don't recommend you do it. So they said it was a malware attack which led to ransomware. Here's the dangerous thing about malware. Malware can install code on your computer without you knowing. You won't notice a difference. Once that happens, a person could easily take over your computer. Ransomware, which is what happened to them, is basically you get a virus and it locks your computer up until you pay them. Do not pay them. Now, I don't know how severe it is, but I know I worked with somebody that had that problem. And they asked me, hey, what do I do? I said, put your computer into safe mode, run the antivirus, and you can get it out. It's very hard, but on a business level, it's going to be a little different. So what I recommend that they do is, if they are running Windows 7, get new computers that are running Windows 10. Do all the security updates. Update the server equipment if you have to. Even though the possibility of an attack is still there, you know, instead of having it, let's say it's this full sheet of paper, this would be the part of it. Even though, yes, before anybody says, you can still get attacked. And the thing is, it takes a long time to fix that, especially on that level. And the issue is since computers are a part of everyday life, when bad people do bad things, you're going to get a situation like this. And it is a little scary. I admit, I'm on the West Coast, and I'm like, that could have easily happened here, it could have happened there. Now, this is where cybersecurity guys come in. What I recommend that this particular company do is hire cybersecurity guys. You heard me talk about that in previous videos. But just to recap, what these guys do is they go through the network and they find vulnerabilities. So when they upgrade everything, what I would do is pay a cybersecurity guy to come in, find all the flaws with the network, and recommend hot fixes. So let's say their firewall isn't powerful enough. It's an appliance. Get a better one. Use a proxy device which will mask the IP. I know I talked about proxies in another video. A proxy is basically like a magic trick. So let's say your real IP address is not a real IP address. So let's say this is your real IP address. Now a proxy will mask this. So you get this. So when somebody tries to break into your network, they're going to try to break in on this. So most likely they did not have a proxy server set up. So if they would set that up, now then again, I don't know their network. So guys would get in on this. Now, the same thing happened to Oracle. And they're a tech company, so you know they had stuff set up. Unfortunately, you could have the best networks, and unfortunately, sometimes stuff still gets compromised. But if you have updated stuff and newer stuff to support your network, as I said, the risk is greatly reduced. So, getting back to that pipeline. So, that having a computer is considered infrastructure. And with that infrastructure causes other infrastructure to fail, which is what you saw. So, and this is a scary thing because if you can't get gas, you can't go to work. You can't go out. You can't do this. You can't do that. And then it's like 1970, I want to say 73 with the gas shortage back then. You're going to end up having something like that. So back to the computer stuff. With the malware, you can actually take control over the computer, and you can sit there and modify their options to do dangerous things. Such as, you can let's say there's safety protection for pressure on their program. Well, if you're already in there, you could sit there and modify it so the pressure gets too big and it goes boom. You could get it to explode. You could actually make too much pressure go into 2 and not 1. You could really mess with the stuff. Now, what you could do is, let's say they have someone watching the computer and stuff starts happening. All they have to do, let's say they have a pump that pumps the fuel through the pipeline. Let's say they look at the computer and it's doing stuff by itself that's not supposed to do. What I would do in that case is just unplug the computer. Just pull the plug. Because once the computer is off, whoever's in there on that computer gets kicked off that. Now, on the network, if the server's still running, they're still going to be on that. So, the thing is, once they get, with all the stuff that's going on in the world, once they get the money to do it, they need to update their equipment. Because there was another thing that happened a while ago, and they had to physically buy new computers because the computers were too old to do what they wanted it to do. So anyway, with that said, that is it for this video. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and click that bell for more notifications.